LaxFactor podcast.
What is up, college lacrosse fans? This is the 165th episode of the LaxFactor Lacrosse podcast. I was on an 11-day vacation, and I didn't end up doing any podcasts while I was down there. So no, I was not sick. I thank everyone who reached out to me. A lot more people than I ever thought reached out to me to make sure I was okay. I was fine with the family in Florida, but I'm back, and now we get to talk about the finals. The NCAA lacrosse finals. Virginia and Maryland played a crazy game. We've got crazy news coming out of Syracuse with John Desko stepping down and Gary Gait being named the head coach. And apparently we're going to have answers as to who his coaching staff is going to end up being, how that'll fill out here in the coming days. Matt Gaudet got his fingertip bit off. That was pretty crazy. So all sorts of stuff to talk about. Before I get into it, as always, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share the crap out of this podcast with your friends. If you're an audio listener, go to anchor.fm/LaxFactor or anywhere you get podcasts, Spotify, Apple, and all the other places. And if you're an audio listener and you'd like to see some video, go to youtube.com/LaxFactor and you can watch the exact same podcast you always listen to on YouTube. So that's it. Let's dive into this here. I'm late, so there's no news here. You guys already know the outcome of this game. Virginia wins by a goal in very exciting fashion. Came right down to a last-second save by Alex Rode. So what I want to talk about more is the performances that kind of put UVA at the top of the heap here and that allowed them to repeat for the first time in program history. So right off the bat, number one in terms of he's the MVP of the entire tournament, and he wears the number one, Colin Shellenberger, the redshirt freshman, literally unstoppable. 4 goals off 7 shots, 2 helpers, no turnovers in this game here. It doesn't get much more efficient than that. Maryland had no answer for the kid. I think he scored 3 of his 4 goals unassisted over a stretch where Virginia started to pull away and gave themselves a little bit of breathing room. Just played incredible through this entire tournament in the end, though. First round in a 13-11 win over Bryant, 2 goals, 3 assists off just 3 shots. Quarterfinals round in a 14-3 drubbing of Georgetown, 6 goals and a helper off 10 shots. Semifinals and a 1-goal win over rival Carolina, the third time these two teams met. 2 goals and 4 assists off just 4 shots. And then in the finals, as we said, in a 1-goal win over Maryland, 4-2 off 7 shots. All in all, 14 goals, 10 assists off 24 shots with just 5 turnovers over those 4 tournament games for UVA. Easily good enough to get him the most outstanding player, the MVP, whatever the hell you want to call it. And that's exactly what he got. Boom. Connor Shellenberger, the redshirt freshman, former top recruit. And it's funny that it's not funny, I guess. He redshirted the COVID year. And I had heard at one point he said, oh, man, I wish I would have just known that was going to happen. And he could have been progressed even a little bit further. But it was apparent right off the beginning, UVA had a little bit too much talent in terms of their top 6, top 8 offensive guys. They didn't know how to kind of get everybody to gel. They shuffled the lineup all over. At one point, Cormier was starting attack. At another point, and Laviano was running mid, and Shellenberger was on attack, and it was all over the place. Shellenberger saw time at both midfield and attack, but by the end of this season, this offense was clicking. They proved that even with getting drubbed by Syracuse twice, by beating UNC and then just rolling through this NCAA tournament exactly as a lot of people expected them to. They were playing their best lacrosse coming into this tournament, squeaked past Bryant, but then after beating Georgetown's ass, you kind of had a feeling, holy shit, this Virginia team is playing really good lacrosse right now, and they figured out that kind of, here's our best 6 offensive guys, we're going to run these guys into the ground, and that chemistry built over the season. So congrats to Shellenberger, though, on the MVP. Number 2 here, Matt Moore. Moore has struggled all year with the shooting percentage, and in UVA's losses, he more often than not shot the ball like shit. Not so in the finals. I've said all year that it was that for Virginia to do well and for Virginia to continue to win down the stretch, Matt Moore had to shoot the ball better. He had to improve his shooting percentage. Moore goes for 4 goals and 2 assists, which matched Shelley's output. And like Connor, he was insanely efficient, just taking 7 shots. That proved pivotal as UVA needed every ounce of productivity and efficiency out of Moore, and they ended up getting it. That was important. Moore's 57% shooting percentage in this game was a huge improvement over his season average of 23%. He shot the ball 23%, a volume dodger. The beauty in that is that the reason his shooting percentage is so low is the dude's getting shots off in scenarios that most guys wouldn't. He is a very aggressive dodger. I always used to say that Krause for Virginia was one of the most savage dodgers I'd ever seen in just terms of being aggressive and being willing to just dodge into trouble, fight through it with strength, speed, determination, and get shots off. And that's kind of a page that Moore has taken out of his former teammates' playbook here. So that was huge. Moore playing well, improving his shooting percentage in this game from 23% through the season and shooting the ball at 57%. Obviously key. Number 3 here, Peyton fucking Lasala. The kid tore it up through this tournament. He played well. He goes 21 of 37 versus Maryland in the finals here, plus a goal and an assist, scoring, I think it was UVA's first goal and assisting their second goal. Maybe it flipped. I can't remember now. But looking back on this NCAA tournament at large overall, struggled versus Bryant. 5 of 16 versus Bryant he was. UVA ended up having to bring reinforcements into that one. And then, let's see here. But he did score a goal against Bryant, so that always kind of equalizes it. When you struggle, if you can put up a point or two, that kind of equalizes those losses for you a little bit. Versus Georgetown, 15-19, dominated, and he put up another goal. Versus UNC in the semis, 15-27 and no point. So he didn't dominate the Tar Heels like he did the first 2 meetings against them, but he only had a single turnover in that game, meaning he won the draws he won, and UVA held possession there. So that was huge. And up to that point, that was only his second turnover of the tournament. Against the Terps, 21-37 with that goal and a dish. The downside against the Terps and the reason why his winning at the dot didn't translate into a larger margin in terms of score was he ended up turning the ball over 4 times in this game. So that pretty much equalizes the draws. He pretty much went 50% in this one, but he had the goal and an assist early in this game. That's a huge, huge piece of this. If you're going to go 50% at the draws after your turnovers overall, but you're going to put up a goal and an assist, giddy up, baby. Most coaches are going to take that. Overall, his tournament was tight. 56 of 99, 56.5% of the draws he won with 3 goals and an assist and just 6 turnovers over those 4 games, which is incredible for a face-off guy. That's enough to earn the moniker of Peyton fucking Lasala, and I'm still just waiting to see the paperwork from his pops on the official name change. We got to change the boy's middle name. I don't care if he's a junior or a 3rd or 2nd or 4th or Esquire, whatever it is, we got to change this kid's middle name because he deserves it. Number 4. The UVA defense. Cade Sawstead did an outstanding job of staying on Tuart winner Jared Bernhardt's hands, and the overall length, the overall talent of UVA's defense here they shine through this entire game, both on close defense, both at the defensive midfield, both short and long pole. Defensively, they just played incredible through this entire game. Bernhardt, he went for 2 goals and 2 helpers over the first half, so it kind of looked like he was going to handle his business. Maybe he ends up 4-2, 5-2, 5-3. That would be the norm for Bernhardt. But in the second half, Virginia adjusted. They didn't necessarily send a lot more help, but they showed, as I've talked about in the previous episode, they showed the help a lot more effectively, which would cause Bernhardt to have to turn around, run away from the double that he perceived was going to come, or he would just kind of, turn around, bail, move the ball. It was an incredible job by the UVA defense to try to just keep him bottled up, keep him busy, not give him clean looks, and they win the game in the end. They held the Tuart winner to just 2 goals and 3 assists over the course of the game. He only had 1 assist in the second half, no goals. So UVA's defense did their job. Both teams pretty much left their guys on an island. Like the whole Virginia defensive philosophy is play fast, loose, and win the one-on-one matchups, and that's what they did. Both teams were pretty much on the island. They let their defenders play against their guy. They didn't necessarily send help. They would both just kind of show the help as being there and would only come in really grave situations. And in the end, UVA's offensive weapons won their matchups and on against the Maryland defense. And more often than not, the Virginia defense won their matchups. I mean, granted, the game ends up being 17-16. It ends up being a one-goal game and a total shootout. So neither team held the other team back all that much. But in the end, Virginia's defense did just a little bit better. In the end, it proved that Shellenberger, Moore, and company were a little bit better offensively than Bernhardt, Wisnauskas, and company. The sums didn't equal out. Virginia was a little bit better, a little bit heavier. They win this game. But in the end, defensively, Virginia, all across the board, short stick D-mids, Connors at LSM, Sawstead, Kaloji, all those guys, they played incredible defense. And they proved they were the better team. I dare say you're playing against a Tewaaraton winner here. He's got weapons all around him, just like UVA had weapons all over the field for them. And you held that Tewaaraton winner to 2 goals, 3 assists, which is a point or two off of his average. And that, you win a 1-goal game. That's part of the key here. But they couldn't have done that without their keeper, Alex Rode, the king of winning out over adversity. Rode came up big when it mattered most. He made the game-saving save in the final seconds of the game and off a totally botched, but apparently not totally botched face-off. Usually when you're facing off with 11 seconds left, the one thing you don't do is get beat. Don't let him pinch pop and push forward up the field. They had Bernhardt up on the wing on this face-off to try to get their offensive weapon closer to the ball in the event that they won. Maybe he could pick up a cheap ground ball, and Bernhardt is a savage off broken play situations where he just picks the ball up and goes. And that didn't end up happening. UVA per Rode. A lot of people are like, what was UVA thinking letting Wehrman go right down the alley? Right down the heart of the defense to take that final shot. And per Rode, it made it sound like that was UVA's strategy, that if he did pinch pop and win it forward, that they were going to take the wings away and they were going to stay home on the attackman. Don't let Wisnauskas fire one, lefty off that corner, just like Virginia's deadly when Cormier is doing the same thing. And so letting Wehrman, once he won that faceoff, pinched pop, apparently that was a strategy. Let him go down the alley, let Rode have a straight on one-on-one save. And luckily the faceoff guy didn't finish, hit Rode in the body. And I love that too, that Rode says, I took it in the body. Luckily he hit me in the body. I love just the reality, this kid being this grounded in reality and understanding that, listen, if he didn't put that on his body, there was very little chance that Rode was going to be able to react quick enough to make that save unless he put it in a stick or something like that. But that's part of being a goalie, being in the right spot at the right time, being in position, holding your ground, making sure that your body is on that stick. And that's what he did. He makes that game-winning save, a little bit of a scrum. UVA eats a couple of not shots, but poor shot attempts, and the ball gets huffed down the field, and UVA wins this game. But the goalie battle here, this was an interesting piece of this. Coming down to the wire just before that last shot, both goalies were almost identical from a stat perspective. With just 11 seconds to play, McNaney had made 11 saves off 17 goals against with 28 shots faced. Rode, before that final shot, 11 saves versus 16 goals against versus 27 shots. So that final shot equalized them in terms of shots faced on cage, and then Rode gets one more save than his counterpart. Had he given up that goal in regulation, the goalie stats would have been exactly the same, except he didn't give up that goal. He made that save. He ends up with one more save than his buddy or his counterpart, his adversary in McNaney. McNaney ends up giving one more goal in this game than the opposing goalie, and Maryland loses this game. So at the end of the day, it comes down to Shellenberger and Moore, and UVA's supporting cast being better than Bernhardt, Wisnauskas, and Maryland's crew. UVA, they had better chemistry. Their stars played their best game on the biggest stage, and they simply had more of that star power to go around. Even the guys that just chipped in, like Dox Aitken, just going one-on-one, but he went one-on-one on just a couple of shots. So I mean, it couldn't have been a better finals. I think that it was tied for the highest scoring finals of all time with two other games. I think Syracuse and Hopkins had a 17-16 game. in the late 80s, and I think that Maryland did this against Navy or something like that also. So, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better game because despite the high scoring, there was a ton of great defense, a ton of great defensive plays, especially with UVA getting the ball up in transition from the defensive end. I think we had a long pole goal or two. I think we had a long pole feeding another one. I mean, it was just crazy. It had everything that you want: hits, action, scoring, huge save at the end of the game, battle at the face-off dot that mattered, adjustments being made by Maryland to get back in this game every time UVA would pull away. Couldn't have been better. Couldn't have been better. And because it's not news, that's all I'm going to say about it. We're going to end it there. I may come back here and revisit the semis and the finals and maybe do like a recap of the whole season. I'll probably give out some awards and stuff like that. But for now, we need to get into some of the other news. We had some wild news. I was walking around Magic Kingdom, right around the area of Pirates of the Caribbean, when I heard that my phone just started blowing up in my pocket. I got Mike Roosteen and my buddy Corey Bellin and all sorts of other people chirping me via private messages, Facebook Messenger, via text, telling me, holy shit, did you hear the news? Desko stepped down, and the rumors are, and this was before it was official. So it was started out as people hitting me up saying, hey, rumor is Desko is stepping down today. Rumor is that Gary Gait is going to be named the new head coach. Rumor is that the coaching staff looks like it's going to be made up of March, who I knew was staying from the beginning, and maybe a Casey Powell. We were hearing Dave Petramala might be joining the team as the defensive assistant, and then that led to crazy speculation that the Petramala boys might jump ship from UNC and head to Syracuse. In the end, I don't know about the staff changes, and by the sounds of it, I dare say that Petro is not really going to end up being the defensive assistant, as Gait kind of chuckled at that one a little bit. But Gait named the head coach of Syracuse here, and what he's promised is that he's going to get Syracuse back to the point where they can pack 20,000 people into the dome like they did when I was a kid, when I fell in love with Syracuse lacrosse overall. That'll be huge. You know, Syracuse he's only their fifth head coach in over 100 years, which is absolutely freaking bonkers. I think it's like 105 years of college lacrosse with just 4 head coaches leading into this coaching change, making Gait the 5th head coach in Syracuse lacrosse history. So in terms of, do I think he was the best guy for it? I wasn't sure. I was one that didn't think this was going to happen. I had heard the rumors for years, 10 years. People have been talking about how Gary Gait is just camping at Syracuse, waiting for Desko to retire so he could be named the head coach. So people have been saying this for years, that Gait was the coach in waiting, but he was killing it at the girls' game. I honestly didn't figure he was going to just bolt from the girls' game after all the success he's had there at Maryland and at Syracuse and then decide, now it's my time to coach guys lacrosse. But that's, in the end, that's exactly what he did. And I do think that it's the right hire. I think that he'll probably bring in some Syracuse alums to fill in the rest of those coaching positions here. I know there's some guys available here now, especially as well. So it'll be interesting to see. But he did promise, and he did say in his press conference that he was going to try to get that coaching. The offensive coordinator is still going to be March by the sounds of it. So the roles they end up having to fill are like, team manager type deal, defensive coordinator. So at least 2 coaching positions that have to be filled, but I think there might even be 3 in the end between defensive coordinator, and I think there might be 2 other assistant levels that he'll end up filling. So either way, it's crazy. Gait is now the new head coach. From a recruit standpoint, it looks like all the recruits are good to go. Gait said that Desko is fully willing. He's asked Desko, and Desko is fully willing to stay on in a capacity of just being a helper of the program. Desko is going to be a permanent fixture in the box up there with Simmons watching games, but Gait made it sound like they're going to keep Desko around in terms of, advisement, in terms of just, a lot of these kids that they're trying to come in, they want to make sure these kids stay. So it's not just, hey, old coach is out, new coach is in, and it's a total changing of the guard. This is going to hopefully and should be as smooth of a transition as you will ever see in terms of a coaching change, especially because Desko was one of Gait's assistant coaches when Gait played. You figure Desko won, what was it, 4 national championships as an assistant coach at Syracuse, and then 4 or 5 as himself, or maybe he won 5 as an assistant and 4 himself. I can't remember, but Desko's been in this program for 30 years, I think, or something like that. It's something crazy. So to have your new coach have a relationship with the outgoing coach and to have that relationship be solid, you couldn't ask for a better situation in terms of how this changing of the guard is going down. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about what it means. I have been a supporter of Desko's forever. I definitely was getting to the point where I was starting to get a little restless. I might have chirped a little bit here, and I'm feeling bad now in hindsight that I chirped him a little bit this season, and I may have even said at one point, maybe, I said maybe the game is starting to pass these guys by a little bit in terms of we have an aged coaching staff. But now seeing a guy that stepped down, and he didn't want to. You could tell in that press conference he wasn't ready to do this. This was probably to a degree not forced on him, I wouldn't say, because I don't think they took that angle, but I think it was one of those things where the way this season played out between the expectations being so high and then having them not be met, you end up having the COVID crap at the beginning of the year with guys facing suspension. You end up having the Scanlon thing play into it as well towards the end of the season. I feel like it was one of those deals where he's just like, I don't know if it was an F this, I don't want to deal with the stress of this crap anymore, or if it was legitimately like, all right, we kind of screwed the pooch this year, and it's time to get some new blood in here. But either way, I thank the crap out of Desko for everything he's done for this program as an assistant coach, leading up to him, holding the reins over the last 20 years or whatever the hell it's been. And I'm excited at the hire of Gait. I'm excited that the transition is going to be smooth, all that good stuff. Moving on to another weird thing. Matt Gaudet got his finger eaten. Like that was as soon as I heard the Gait news and I was watching that, somebody else hit me up and said, yo, did you see the Gaudet crap? And I hop on lacrosse Twitter. I find a video that shows his middle finger just chomped off at the tip. Then we later see Sideline Swap. Someone jokingly put up a fingertip on Sideline Swap and was selling it for $999 as Austin Stotts. So I don't know any of the details of what happened. I just know the rumor is Austin Stotts bit Gaudet's finger off, which is fucking crazy when you really think about it. And you just don't want to fight, apparently, Austin Stotts, because he's going to fight to win if that's the case here. So I'm not a Gaudet fan. I think that if Gaudet wasn't such a douchebag last year, he probably doesn't have this kind of shit happening to him now. I don't think Gaudet is. I think he's good for the league in the sense that there's no such thing as bad publicity to a degree. You heard a bunch of people saying, this isn't what the sport needs. It's like, publicity is publicity. And you bite somebody's finger off in a fight. Like most people thought this happened in a game or something like that. Most initially didn't realize this was something that happened at I believe the hotel. I presume it's the hotel bar or something like that. So what leads to this happening? I have no idea. Both guys are suspended indefinitely though. And if you're saying that something's not good for the league, I would say Gaudet more than anything isn't good for the league, because as long as he's here, he's going to elicit this type of hatred from other guys, and he's going to continue to get headhunted. His health is going to be on the line because of it, and they've proven, as you've seen with the Michael Sowers hit, that they're not necessarily willing to do the right thing. Now, I will be the first to say, I do not think that he purposely head hit Sowers. You can almost kind of see it was going to be a cross-check, or it should have been a cross-check, and that's one of the big problems in the PLL. Cross-checks are pretty much legal at this point. So he was coming in to cross-check Sowers, which should have been a penalty in itself. But as Sowers is going down, it does in fact look like he's not looking at Sowers, and he's watching the release of the ball, and his stick connects with Sowers' head. But it doesn't matter. It's just like in the NFL. If you accidentally hit someone in the head, you get suspended and you get treated as if you did it on purpose, which is how it should be, because you have to have guys being extra careful, and they are not in the PLL. So while I do like that the PLL is far more physical, college lacrosse is pretty much a no-contact sport outside of getting slashed these days. I like that the PLL has been more physical and has allowed guys to hit each other, but I don't like that we've seen a lot of these cross-checks and some really... It's not necessarily that all of the hits were malicious, but they look malicious in the way they go down. So I think the PLL needs to do a better job of policing that. But, Gaudet losing a fingertip, that's cool. I think that's cool news, and we'll see what transpires, and we'll see more as the full story comes out. I've been out of. I only just got home Thursday afternoon here, so I'm totally out of the mix. I'm not caught up with everything that's happened. I've kind of flowed through this thing the best I could. So I'm coming back tomorrow to do a PLL recap. I'm going to recap the PLL's first weekend, and I'm going to recap Saturday's action from the PLL. I'm going to do that on Sunday, and then maybe we'll get another one out Monday or Tuesday recapping Sunday's PLL games. But I'm back. Thank you all for reaching out to make sure that I wasn't dead. Literally like 10 or 15 people. I know that's not a lot, for overall, but for some just schlub like me to have 10 plus people reach out to make sure I was okay because I disappeared from the internet for 11 days. That it meant a lot. I was smiling every time, and I replied to everybody. So if you reached out, I pretty much replied back to you. Sometimes people put fake emails in the contact form, though, and it doesn't always reach you. But it was appreciated. It did not go unnoticed that you noticed that I was gone. So that is it. I'll be back tomorrow with PLL crap, and we'll talk about some other stuff. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Go to LaxFactor.com. You can get yourself some swag. I actually have 2 of these shirts that I'm going to put up for sale. Both of them XLs, a green one and a white one. Sadly, they run a little small, so this is a double XL to fit my fat body. But, I have 2 of these that I'm going to actually put up for sale as well, so I'll show those at the probably in the next show, and we'll see who the first 2 to buy them are. Did I say that right? Buy them? I don't know. But that's it. I'm out. I'll be back tomorrow. Come back and watch it. And that's all. Hoost is out.